Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ari Weinstein at the microphone, Los Angeles, California. If someone says they were bored during the Trump era, they're just deaf and blind. Today on the program, how Schwarzenegger put the liberals from the show View, in Russian, that's Vzglyad, in their place, about how the U.S. is forced to deal with Iran, about the threat of 90 million Iranians migrating to Europe, and about how Russia is trying to insert itself as a mediator between Iran and Israel. Why did little Israel completely defeat the huge, almost 100 million strong country, at least 90 million with 92 or 93 million people living there? By the way, Israel has a population of 7.5 million, so it's 12 times smaller, the state. And why can't Ukraine do the same and drive out the invaders, whose country is 3 times larger? Nevertheless, let's start with a moral dilemma. To kill or not to kill Iranian nuclear scientists? Here, as I understand it, there's a discussion between those completely confused by liberalism and libertarianism, not very prepared for philosophical questions, the inhabitants of planet Earth. Let's figure it out and do it, as they say, in our usual way, sticking to our usual principle. Let's reduce the complex to the simple, but try not to lose the nuance. So, the elimination of Iranian physicists sounds terrible, right? It really does sound terrible. Sweet, confused oddballs, nerds. Well, I mean, not botanists as in the profession, but as in nerds bookworms, who just mix potions in test tubes. But then the scary and bloodthirsty Hebrews came. Also known as Israelis, also known as Jews, kikes, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, Yids. And we're just hordes of Zionists, Zeos. And they started killing them, without even thinking that they have children, wives, friends, plans for a vacation in Italy, and maybe, by the way, even a secret sympathy for the outcast. When? That's a blow to the Shah's head. But since we've created the portrait of such a harmless scientist, let's create the portrait of an aggressive Zionist. Well, let's say a pilot, a determined pilot, 28 years old, 2 children, wife expecting their 3rd child, house, mortgage, night classes at the university majoring in dentistry. The youngest son is allergic to everything. His mother-in-law lives with him. She is divorced from his father-in-law. The pilot loves to play basketball, but he doesn't have any time at all. Sometimes he paints with oil. Funny still lifes, because that's his hobby. Yes, he absolutely loves, of course, Scriabin, Grieg, and Mendelssohn, not knowing that Mendelssohn is Jewish. Grandfather and grandmother on his father's side met in Auschwitz. Grandfather and grandmother on his mother's side came from Yemen, where they lived in caves. Yeah, so in 6th grade, he won the City Math Olympiad. His favorite color is cherry. And now about why, when he joined the army, he signed up for the most difficult branches of the military that were available. His first choice was pilot, the second was paratrooper. Simply because, after learning to understand a little Farsi, he heard every day that the Iranian Muslim mullahs, and after them the whole people, kneel down and repeat Allah 5 times a day. I swear that as soon as they have the opportunity, they will kill his children, whom he, by the way, adores. It happens. Fathers sometimes adore their children. For some reason, he didn't like that idea. And then he found out that Iran already had more than 1,500 ballistic missiles, and China promised to supply them with another 6,000 in the next couple of years. So, in 2 years, they'll have 8,000 ballistic missiles. And if, let's say, they put dirty bombs on even a small number of them, if they fly to Haifa, to Nev Sha'anan, where his family lives, on that very slope facing Iran, then things could get very bad. And that's why he decided that if he had the chance, he would try. Not to let them create a dirty, clean, or any kind of bomb and to get 6, 8, 10,000 ballistic missiles. The operation commander, a people like a lion, also had his own considerations. At the age of 46, he now has to decide the fate of the country and possibly the world. His sister, a physicist at the Hebrew University, is acquainted with a number of Iranian scientists and said that most of them are kind, wonderful, sympathetic people who are forced, just like in the USSR, so to speak, not even in prisons, but simply, so to speak, brought together and creator, as they say. So, to create. But what to create? Well, they had to create, accordingly, weapons of mass destruction, which the opponents, as they called them, of Soviet power, meaning the rest of the world, were planning to use to bomb and conquer. So his son, who is half Iranian Jew, talks to his cousins from Tehran over Skype. They all hide there that Jews are helping, their mothers, because the father is some kind of official somewhere. And they're all good guys, wonderful, nice guys. But their country announces every day that as soon as they gain enough strength, they will wipe the Jews off the face of the earth. All of them. Women, children, scientists, janitors, even mailmen, them too. And of course, pilots, first of all. In Iran, in the mountains, 100 meters deep under the rocks, there are facilities for uranium enrichment and bomb making, and accordingly, missiles as well. And no matter how much Israel bombs, it can't destroy the entire nuclear program. If the scientists, brilliant, kind, responsive, are transferred there, then Iran will soon have an atomic bomb. No matter how much Israel bombs them, and they'll mount it. They say they have enough uranium, and now they've already enriched it to 85%. There's just a little bit left, up to 90%. And they have enough for 10 bombs, 10 warheads. They'll put them on 10 warheads and send them in different directions across Israel, but at least one will make it through. And it could reach Tel Aviv or Haifa, where the Technion is, where our young pilot lives with his family. And these two people think, if I destroy them, my loved ones, my country, and my people have a chance. If they survive. It's scary, Strana. If they are destroyed, pray, friends. Most likely, they won't survive. So what do you think they'll decide? And what would you decide? Here's the choice you face. One option is to eliminate the scientists who enable the enemy to kill your loved ones, or leave them alive and significantly increase the chances of a fatal outcome for your children, your spouses, your relatives, your friends, your neighbors. So what would you decide? You can't get them out of there, guys. You can't destroy all the production. You're left with two bad options. And you'll have to choose between the two, as they say, the lesser of two evils. So go ahead and choose. Now we've simplified a complex philosophical question into a simple everyday one. They are going to kill your children. Will you protect them or decide otherwise? Well, to hell with them. I'll have more kids. On Wednesday, the Russian Duma ratified a strategic 20-year partnership with Iran. It's almost funny, isn't it? It's meant to strengthen partnership in the field of nuclear technology. Well, among other things. The Kremlin picked an interesting time to ratify the agreement, which, by the way, was signed back in January, right when it's being decided whether the U.S. itself will strike Iran or somehow will hand over its bunker busters to Israel. If, of course, Israel has bombers capable of carrying them, but I don't think they do. We'll talk about this too. Listen to the experts. Putin has already offered himself as a mediator. And Trump even kind of said at first that he didn't really mind, but a little later he rejected the offer. Well, obviously, after finding out that Russia can't even formally say anymore that after ratifying this agreement that it is no longer, well, sort of an uninterested party. How the hell is it an uninterested party? Or maybe, on the contrary, they ratified it now because Trump said no. Oh no. Then here you go, take a look at this. The representative of Iran, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghani, I think. Or Aragachi. His last name is something like that. I apologize, really, I always have trouble with. He said that he plans to deliver a message from Khamenei to Putin and to discuss further and long-term plans for cooperation. Naturally, in Iran, everyone saw this as the beginning of Khamenei preparing to flee, including in the delegation everyone he wants to take out of the country, well, and to take them to live in Rostov, closer to Assad, as I understand it. In response, well, not exactly because of that. So Steve Witkoff, who is constantly called a freak, an idiot, a moron, a madman in Ukraine, well, I won't continue listing them, so to speak. He announced that Iran must completely abandon its ballistic missile and nuclear weapons development program. So Caroline Leavitt, she's the White House press secretary, a young woman who regularly speaks publicly. I'm sure you've seen her many times. I think she's the youngest press secretary ever in the United States of America. She reported that Trump conveyed to Khamenei that Iran must completely abandon its nuclear ambitions, and President Trump, she said, gave Iran an ultimatum. These are her words. I'm just quoting her. So, depending on the actions of the Ayatollah, the U.S. will either go to war or not. The leaders of Iran still believe that it's impossible to completely bomb their laboratories in the mountains, that the program is designed in such a way that even losing half of the production won't stop it, and in a year or two it will continue. They also believe they can still quickly assemble a few dirty bombs. They believe that by bombing U.S. military bases, they'll stop Trump. That's what they've convinced themselves of. That's not how you should handle Trump. And he'll agree to negotiations where they'll sign anything, absolutely anything, but they won't actually follow through. Naturally, just like they've always done, and then with Russia's help, they'll restore all their military potential. When he was told that Iran was going to bomb Bulgaria and was bombing the U.S., Trump replied, "Now, the only thing I'm willing to accept," he said, "is absolutely complete and unconditional surrender." And he added, "They've really pushed me to the limit." By the way, they've pushed a lot of people to the limit.
Mr. President, what would you say to the Supreme Leader of Iran who claims that they will not surrender?
I'd say good luck.
What if the air corridor with Iran is closed?
Go ahead.
What if there are no more seats left?
They're already gone. That's why we're doing what we're doing. They have 60 days, and that's, 60 days is enough time, and honestly, they made a mistake.
If the U.S. strikes?
Their country is in ruins. So many people died who shouldn't have died. It's very sad.
Rulers make mistakes, citizens pay the price. That's true for Russia, for Ukraine, and for Iran, of course. I often see comments that Trump just makes empty promises, that he doesn't keep them, and that he changes his opinions and beliefs all the time. It would be interesting to hear RJ's opinion on this. I've shown him to you a few times. He's a blogger, but he's one of the serious ones. Bloggers.
Let's take a look at this.
Today is the 145th day of the Trump administration. Trump has been in power for 145 days over the past 10 years. Since Trump came down that golden escalator, he has been straightforward and consistent in saying that he will never allow Iran to get nuclear weapons. He has been consistent whether you like it or not. That was one of his campaign promises. He promised to tear up Obama's nuclear deal with Iran on the very first day of his first term. And he did it. He promised to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, and he did it. Everything he promises, he delivers. He also promised to put an end to these endless wars. Yesterday, he told Tucker Carlson that he would not allow the U.S. to get involved in another war like Iraq. He simply won't let it happen. This morning, he clarified his position once again. He doesn't want a long-term war. He doesn't want a short-term war. He doesn't want either. The only thing he wants, his red line, is that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. What we're seeing now is Trump using his presidential power to achieve this result. Watch. People on his side don't want a long-term war. They're afraid that we'll get involved in a long-term war.
I want only one thing. Iran cannot have nuclear weapons, that's it. I'm not considering long-term arrangements. I've been saying this for 20 years. I said it when I was a civilian. A lot has been written about me. People have covered this. It's very simple. Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. It's not about anything else. And if that happened, you wouldn't have a country left, because they would use it against us and against other people, and a tyrant would rule the world.
And now we have breaking news. It has just been reported. Russian officials confirmed that the deputy head of the Ayatollah's administration and other high-ranking members of the Iranian regime are preparing escape plans. Iran International reports that Russian officials have confirmed to them that they have arranged for Ali Ashkar Kajazi to leave Iran. He is the deputy head of the Ayatollah's administration. It's roughly like Stephen Miller here in the U.S. And other members of the regime were also preparing evacuation plans in case the U.S. intervened. And what's striking in this photo is that the supreme leader is standing next to the former Hezbollah leader, Hassan Nasrallah, who is already dead. The former IRGC chief, Qasem Soleimani, who is also dead. Israel eliminated the new IRGC chief 5 days ago. 2 days later, the Ayatollah appoints a new person to lead the IRGC. What's going on? Within 24 hours, that person is dead too. Mossad is so deeply embedded in this regime that they have spies everywhere. At this moment, right now, there is a very high probability, we're talking 95% and above, that President Trump will order strikes on Iran's nuclear infrastructure. We're hearing that the window for a strike opened last night, that it's now safe enough to send a B-2 without risk. Of course, there's always some risk. But now there's an opportunity for Trump to give the order to use those very 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. However, Trump just stated that he still hasn't made a decision. Play the recording.
About whether do you think the U.S. is getting closer to striking Iran's nuclear facilities? What is your opinion on this?
I can't say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question, do you? You will strike the Iranian nuclear facility. And at what exact time, sir? Sir, are you really going to strike? Please let us know so we can be there and watch. I mean, you don't even know if I'm actually going to do it. You don't know. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. Nobody knows what I'm going to do. But I can tell you this. Iran has a lot of problems right now, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before all this death and destruction? Why didn't you negotiate? I told these people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? Everything could have been fine for you. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Everyone thought it would be the other way around. I didn't think so. And I told them, you need to do something. You need to negotiate. And in the end, at the last moment, they said, no, we won't do that. And they got hit.
President Trump called for Iran's unconditional surrender.
Today, Trump spent an hour at the White House with the national security team to focus on deterring Iran's nuclear ambitions.
We may have to destroy the Fordo uranium enrichment plant deep under a mountain in Iran. Right now, Israel doesn't have the means to destroy such a facility, so it will have to discuss with the US the possibility of using a bunker buster bomb.
The United States is going to war, even though Washington is demanding unconditional surrender from Tehran. New intelligence indicates that Iran is urgently working on a nuclear detonator, possibly to assemble its first nuclear bomb. Unconfirmed reports say that Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, may have ordered his scientists to urgently assemble at least one bomb, using all the enriched uranium stockpiled so far. If this is true, the clock is ticking. On one hand, the United States is already moving fighters, planes, tankers, and even aircraft carriers from the South China Sea directly to the Persian Gulf to prepare for a full-scale war. On the other hand, Iranian scientists are in a desperate race against time, trying to finish their device. Before American B-2 stealth bombers personally deliver this massive bomb directly to Iran's nuclear facilities. Just a day ago, President Trump publicly called on millions of residents to immediately evacuate Tehran. He also made a direct and public warning to Iran's supreme leader, stating that American intelligence already knows exactly where he is hiding, but that they will not eliminate him, at least for now, under one strict condition, that Iran immediately and completely abandons all plans for uranium enrichment, hands over all nuclear materials, and signs a rock-solid agreement for the complete and final cessation of any future nuclear ambitions. But in reality, at the moment, such a deal seems extremely unlikely. And that's why, within the next few hours, the United States Armed Forces may cross a line from which there will be no turning back. For those following the events, today is the 6th day of the escalation of the conflict between Israel and Iran. And Israel has just confirmed that their recent airstrike on Iran's largest nuclear facility, the uranium enrichment complex in Natanz, south of Tehran, was a huge success.
Look, gentlemen, at the map on the right in red. The huge country of Iran, formerly Persia, with an area of 1.6 million square kilometers. In my opinion, it's the 17th largest country in the world, with a population of at least 92 million people. They say that Iran earns more than $50 billion a year from oil trade. The total number of the armed forces is 1 million people, including the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now let's talk about the opponent. Look on the left side, Israel. The area of Israel is 20,000 square kilometers. There are 7.5 million Jewish people living in this territory. There are also Druze, Bedouins, and so on, but as they say, they are not fully counted for a number of reasons. There are 170,000 people in the army. All the rest are reservists, that is. In the country, there are 7.5 million Jewish people living in this territory, 170,000 serving in the army, all the rest are reservists. That is, in Iran, too, there is a huge number of reservists. In total, Iran is 80 times larger than Israel in terms of territory. Its population is 12 times greater. Israel is forced to maintain a huge army because of constant attacks. But in peacetime, nevertheless, without calling up reservists, Iran's army is 5 times larger, even though no one is attacking them. And what about Israel, which is constantly under attack? So, a state with a population 12 times larger, with huge hydrocarbon resources, with equipment from Russia, from China, from North Korea, from Pakistan, shamefully loses a war to a smaller country. For 7 days already, because Israel was preparing for war. Because Jews don't ask if we will be attacked, they say when we will be attacked. Because Jews in Israel don't steal from the army. Because soldiers are not asked to buy bulletproof vests donated from abroad. They are sold.
Fordow is protected by 80 to 90 meters of rock, almost 300 feet deep, with at least 5 tunnel entrances carved into the mountainside leading to the complex. It's like a vault built for the apocalypse. When Western intelligence agencies first uncovered the Fordow nuclear facility in Iran in 2009, world leaders immediately saw the true nature of Tehran's claims about a peaceful nuclear program. The secretive and heavily protected design of this facility simply didn't fit the peaceful narrative. On the contrary, everything about Fordow indicated that it was built specifically for one crucial purpose: to secretly enrich uranium, and possibly even to assemble nuclear warheads. It is buried so deep and heavily fortified that even the most powerful Israeli bunker-busting weapon, the American GBU-28 bomb, would struggle to destroy it. For reference, the GBU-28 is designed to penetrate about 100 feet or around 30 meters of solid rock or reinforced concrete in ideal conditions. But Fordow is almost 3 times deeper than that, and that's exactly why it still remains such a huge threat. You see, during the initial strikes on June 13th, Israel did actually try to hit Fordow, but the results turned out to be extremely ineffective. Satellite images after the strike were quickly analyzed by the IAEA, and they didn't find any visible damage at the Fordow enrichment facility. The Israeli bombs couldn't penetrate deeply enough through the thick layers. Moreover, Iranian officials managed to keep Fordow operational throughout all the strikes. In short, Israel doesn't have a weapon capable of completely destroying this nuclear facility. Experts have long agreed that while Israel may be able to delay Iran's nuclear progress for months or perhaps a couple of years, it's almost impossible to completely stop the program unless the deepest underground level of Fordow is somehow destroyed. What's even worse is that right now, those very desperate Iranian scientists who are rushing to assemble a working nuclear bomb from the remaining resources are doing so inside this very facility. Moreover, on June 16th, 3 days after Israel's massive strike, the Iranian parliament announced that it was preparing a law for Iran to withdraw from the 1968 Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. If Iran implements this decision, it will remove all obstacles preventing it from creating nuclear bombs.
This is exactly what the Iranians are threatening. They say they'll attach a nuclear bomb to a missile and send it to Tel Aviv or somewhere else where you least expect it.
You see, even before this war, Iran had already accumulated more than 400 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60%. If this stockpile is enriched to 90%, it would be enough fissile material for about 10 to 15 nuclear warheads. Most of this enrichment took place at the Fordow facility, and according to the IAEA, Iran even managed to enrich uranium up to 83.7%. That's only 6.3% less than weapons grade. In addition to uranium enrichment, Iran has also secretly developed specialized components for nuclear weapons. And this didn't start after the recent June attacks. In fact, it began several years ago. Back in March 2025, just a few months before the war began, the US Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, publicly stated that American intelligence still believed Iran was not building actual nuclear weapons. Israel categorically disagreed, and recent events show that the Israelis may have been right. New intelligence gathered during the current conflict, possibly as a result of Israeli raids or strikes, seems to have convinced even the US administration that Iran's nuclear weapons program was much more advanced than previously believed. That is why, on June 17th, the IAEA Board of Governors held an emergency meeting and for the first time in almost 20 years officially stated that Iran had violated its nuclear non-proliferation obligations. The American super-powerful bunker-busting bomb, or MOP, is the most powerful bunker buster on the planet, and this leads us directly to why, in the end, only the United States can deliver a decisive blow to Iran's nuclear ambitions. Weighing about 13,600 kilograms or around 30,000 pounds, the MOP is America's largest and most powerful non-nuclear bomb. Its sole purpose is to penetrate deeply buried targets, breaking through rock and concrete and then detonating underground with devastating force. During tests, the MOP penetrated more than 60 meters or about 200 feet of concrete or solid rock before detonating, exactly what's needed to destroy Iran's Fordow facility. American engineers achieved this by making the MOP's casing from special hardened steel alloys, which are specifically designed not to break upon impact, but to penetrate deep underground before a delayed fuse triggers a powerful explosion. Now, some might ask why America doesn't just give a few of these bombs to Israel and let them handle it. Well, it's not that simple, because there's only one aircraft in the world that's actually capable of carrying and deploying the GBU-50 massive ordnance penetrator. That's the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber of the US Air Force. In addition, the B-2 provides the necessary stealth to penetrate Iranian airspace undetected, especially if Iranian air defense systems are still operating around sites like Fordow, although in this case that's not as important anymore. Israel has already achieved air superiority by destroying more than 70 Iranian surface-to-air missile batteries. Essentially, Israel has already done 90% of the hardest work. Now it all depends on the United States and the B-2 bomber, which has to deliver the final blow and complete the operation.
Now it's clear why we can't give the bombs to Israel. But we will be able to help Israel and the world get rid of the immediate threat to the existence of the planet Earth. and our civilization by destroying Iran's nuclear program. In fact, to wipe it off the face of the earth completely. Under no circumstances should this be done. Burn down their oil business. And in general, to damage their industry, infrastructure, and things like that. Because if after the Ayatollahs flee, there's nothing left to eat in the country, everyone will go to Europe. All 100 million. There are 92 million of them. If there are less than 100 million, that's why we need to finish them off completely, end their nuclear program, and don't let the country fall apart. These are two huge tasks that, well, without understanding how to solve them, you can't start the operation. Well now, ladies and gentlemen, the cherry on top called on a very psycho-liberal show, which, from my point of view, is impossible to watch because of the complete lack of logic. They only invite guests who absolutely agree with them on everything. And the guest, along with 5 hosts, sing praises in unison, let's say, to Biden or Kamala Harris. And anathemas, terrible anathemas to anyone who says anything. Well, let's say, so to speak, about the fact that, well, it seems like we don't oppress anyone here or something like that, or something else. America is a terrible, frightening country. We oppress everyone. It's absolutely impossible to live here. We would all run away, but we just can't leave you. Because without us, well, so to speak, we absolutely have to be here. But in reality, of course, no one is actually planning to go anywhere, except for those who have something to hide regarding all sorts of criminal cases. And that's why many comrades from that very, Hollywood crowd ran away, saying, oh, we don't want to live with Trump. But in reality, they're afraid their secrets will be exposed. All right, fine. So they invited Arnold Schwarzenegger. So he likes to claw at Trump. To say that he's wrong about things, he says he's a politician, like I'm a politician. So I get it myself. And he came in, took a big mug of tea, and he announced that he would be happy to answer questions from charming ladies. And the unsuspecting ladies started asking questions.
We'll see.
If you are an immigrant, you're an immigrant. If you're an immigrant, you're one in this country. Did you have any instinctive reaction to what they're doing, to what ICE is doing when you see these videos?
I'll tell you, you said immigrant, and I'm so proud and so happy that Americans accepted me like this. Imagine I came here at 21 years old with absolutely nothing, and I was able to build such a career. I mean, in no other country in the world could you do that. Everything, absolutely everything, whether it's my bodybuilding career, my acting career, becoming a governor, the wonderful family I've built.
Arnold was the governor of California, for those who didn't know. He started talking about how great, how wonderful America is. To the 5 shrews at the table who have been saying for years how terrible America is.
All of this.
People forget that Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor of California.
Like America.
A little digression.
And that's why I'm so glad to see with my own eyes that this is the greatest country in the world. And this is the land of opportunity, and I think that's because I'm such a proud American and a proud immigrant. But the key point is also that at the same time, we must do everything legally.
Here the girls sat down. Sat down, stunned, looking at their idol. What, here? We have to follow the law? But what about the poor criminals we've been defending for so many years? There you go. Hasn't he read the Democratic Party's guide to loving criminals, especially those who are black or of non-traditional sexual orientation? Schwarzenegger, what a guy. Schwarzenegger is black, a black guy, a black man. If you translate it into Russian, right? Probably they thought he went crazy.
They won't like it.
That's important. You have to do everything legally. And those people who do something illegal in America, they're not smart. Yeah, I totally agree. Because when you come to America, you're a guest and you have to behave like a guest. Like when I come to someone's house and I'm a guest, then they do everything.
You don't go into someone's garage and set their car on fire when you come over as a guest. People don't do that. It's rude.
Keeping everything clean, making the bed, and doing everything necessary, that's the right thing to do. Do that and not commit a crime or behave offensively or anything like that. That's the main thing. When you become an immigrant, you have to think, okay, I'm going to America because I want to take advantage of the wonderful opportunities that exist in America. Then you need to think, okay, if I'm getting all this from America, then I should give something back. You have a responsibility as an immigrant. Give something back to America and do something for your community. Make it part of your plan, place.
I don't know.
Yes, but the first time they were quiet, and you can see how he made them stop talking. At first, he was egging them on.
But the key point is the same.
That's all.
We must do everything legally. That's the most important thing. You understand? So you need to do everything legally. And those people who do something illegal in America,
You can see that they tried to interrupt him. They tried not to let him say anything after that. What? What do you mean? What do you mean by legally?
The audience, who came to listen to the nonsense of five crazy nags, suddenly started applauding Schwarzenegger because what he was saying was simple, clear, and logical. People respond very well to clear logic. Well, that's it for now. I would like to once again draw your attention to our online store with products that will appeal to everyone who is for freedom, against robbery, for independence, and against enslavement, the enslavement of the individual by any collective. Because only freedom, that is the state in which creativity happens, in which society can. What is freedom anyway? It's when you are 100% responsible for everything that's yours. Everything that comes from you, your life, your thoughts, your property, everything that's yours. That's it. No one has the right to even a single percent of what is yours. And you don't have the right to even a single percent of what belongs to someone else. And if this state of the whole society, this is what freedom is. So take a look at these wonderful products. We use the profits for the right cause, naturally. And we also have a sponsorship program, ladies and gentlemen. For $4 a month, you can become a sponsor and you'll have a great feeling knowing that you're helping us. If you want, you can make that feeling even better. Maybe $40 a month, maybe $140 or even $425. That's what they say. Those who want a lot of good feelings give more. If $4 is enough for you to feel good, that's enough for us too. Thank you very much. Well, all right then. And by the way, here's what those who give us the opportunity to deal with all our technical issues get in return. We should give something to them as well. Gentlemen, we're preparing additional videos, some more in-depth ones, and later on we'll arrange meetings with those who help us support the channel. You help us, we help you. And accordingly, we are very happy about this and very grateful to you. That's all for now, but please also take a look at our online store. Friends and like-minded people, we have decided to spread our views in another way. The first one is, of course, the Leon Weinstein U.S. channel, a channel about political events. The second one is also the Roadmap to Freedom channel, and all of this is copied to camerton.global, to the website. And on the Roadmap channel, we talk about the new science called evolutional science, in which, just like in geometry, it is proven that collectivism always leads to the loss of freedom and poverty. The third one is camerton.global itself, where you can either access for free or purchase various books and lectures, where you can learn how to raise children. And now our slogans are on caps, mugs, t-shirts, jackets, and bags. For example, you put on a t-shirt or took a bag with the inscription liberal, pay taxes. So are you a liberal? Well, then pay your taxes. Or a mug with an inscription,
freedom of my
should We have freedom, and you get a bag that says liberal, and one that says, for example, love speech. And here it is, my freedom of speech. A bag. Let liberals have an abortion. Let liberals have abortions. A t-shirt. Marx loved taxis. I don't like taxis. So Marx loved taxes. Well, by the way, he didn't pay them. And I don't like them. There's also a hoodie that says liberal or smart. Well, I mean, you're either smart or you're a liberal. Your friends will definitely enjoy a bag that says way more equal than you. I'm way more equal than you. Well, or, than everyone else. And your children, liberals, might be happy with a gift that says tolerance is overrated. The importance of tolerance is greatly exaggerated. Every time you watch a video on this channel, there's a shop below the description. With these and other fun items, the assortment will constantly grow. By the way, if you have ideas for interesting slogans, write them in the comments. If we accept any of your suggestions, you will receive a bag and a mug from us with the slogan you suggested as a gift. Take a look right now. When you finish watching this video, check out the store, the shop as they call it, yeah? Well, I hope you'll like what's there. Ladies and gentlemen, all the income we earn there goes to support the needs of the channel.